Mitch jumped forward as a gun went off. As he fell, Delilah realized that Alistair wasn't next to her. Before Mitch had touched the floor, Alistair was standing between Chelsea and the man. The gun disintegrated under Alistair's concealed crystal hand. Alistair grabbed the man and launched him as if he were a sandbag, because sandbags launch all the time. The man's ample frame hit the nearest wall with a thump and a second thump as he rebounded onto the floor. Alistair was literally a blur as he dashed across the hall. That's right, he literally turned into a blur. He no longer had his form, and he must have changed back when he came to a stop. The next man, who had been trying to grab Alexa while Nick bled profusely on the ground, was the next. Alistair flipped the man over in a back handspring, his feet still fixed on the man's neck, and slammed him to the floor.
Double kill.
Alistair turned to find 6 other masked men with their guns targeting him. Alistair suddenly bent over double. Delilah immediately thought he'd been shot. But that can be. There wasn't a gunshot greater than. Delilah seemed to watch as the air around Alistair swelled, compacting. With a yell, Alistair released the energy. Kamehameha! The air exploded outwards, sending the men flying in every direction.
Kill-tacular.
Men on the second floor began firing, their barrels igniting briefly like bonfires. Delilah watched as Alistair's figure shimmered and split in two, creating a twin image of him before vanishing altogether. The men stopped shooting, looking wildly around. Unexpectedly, 5 men fell to the ground within seconds of each other. Then Alistair materialized next to the 6th man. The man fell over the broad railing to the floor, 20 feet below. Alistair was no longer unharmed. 2 thin swords were gripped in each hand, both looking identical to each other, with curved blades that reminded Delilah of weapons elves might use. There's armed men, and the first thing she thinks is like, those weapons look like something that elves might use. Yeah. I also love how he's no longer unharmed now that he's armed. Alistair became a blur again as he sped along the balcony, slicing at the intruders. Several dropped to their knees with wounds to their extremities, while others went down to never get up again. Oh, he paralyzed them. Alistair leapt over the railing, his wings springing out to slow his fall. The bullets pinged off the floor as Alistair zigzagged across the polished floor. Without breaking step, Alistair threw a sword at the pillar ahead. The blade sank into the marble like it was clay, not solid stone. Alistair then kicked off the pillar to clasp the handle. Alistair swung around the stiff blade like a trapeze artist, launched himself and wall-kicked to the railing. 4 men clustered together here, hands trembling as Alistair approached. Delilah discerned the air shimming around Alistair's left hand. Alistair stretched out his hand like a snake striking. The air rippled as the energy flew through the air. The group of men was blasted off their feet. Delilah abruptly became aware of something cold and thin being pressed against her throat. She froze, her mind reeling, as a cruel voice in her ear murmured,
"Don't move, or I'll gut you where you stand."
Delilah felt the rising panic build inside her. She wanted to scream, to run, but the man's pitiless voice held her like a chain wound around her soul. She felt her jaws tighten in pain as pressure was applied to the knife. Then a voice, calmer than she thought possible under the circumstances, came from below. "Let her go!" It wasn't a request, but a command! Delilah slowly moved her eyes to gaze at Alistair. Standing at the bottom of the stairs, one of the blood-stained swords hung at his side, his face set with determination.
"Make any move, and she'll pay for it,"
said the voice behind Delilah. The man holding her shifted his other arm to point a pistol at Alistair. Alistair dropped the sword, the metal clanging against the white marble. He held his hands up as a gesture of surrender. "You win! Just don't hurt her!" Delilah could feel the man smirk in triumph. Out of the corner of her eye, she watched in fascination as the other blade silently slid out of the wall, floating in mid-air of its own accord. Delilah understood. There's a flying sword, and Delilah understands. I don't understand, and I'm the narrator. Alistair had left a door open, using the power of air to control the blade from afar. Delilah looked back at Alistair. He nodded. The sword flew across the gap, impaling the arm holding the gun. The man screamed in distress, lessening his grip on Delilah. She flung herself aside as Alistair moved. In 3 steps, he had scaled the stairs. His stone hand seized the other's face. Alistair threw the man into the air. Alistair's skin seemed to crackle as lightning glanced out to grip the man in the air, holding him in place. Alistair's eyes had become a solid blue, emotionless and alien. Just like his real eyes, he relented. The man fell to the ground like a puppet whose strings had been severed. Delilah stayed where she was, the tears sliding hot and wet down her cheeks. Soft hands caressed her face. She reluctantly opened her eyes. Alistair's face swam in front of her vision. She realized that Alistair was crying too. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Delilah. I had no choice. I couldn't let him hurt you. I'm sorry." Delilah clung closer to Alistair while he stroked her hair, letting the pain and finally sink in. The fact that friends had died tonight, she cried out her despair onto Alistair until she could cry no more.
End of chapter 11!